Hi there. House of the Dragon just released its full final trailer for Season 2. And accompanying that, they had this big interview tie-in spread with Entertainment Weekly. And they had this really cool promo setup where they had Liv Cook and Emma Darcy as queens maneuvering around on this life-size 3D printed chessboard of green and black. So check it out if you haven't seen it already. The video of just them making stern faces as they're playing chess with each other, and all the other interview stuff with that. But there were a few interesting pieces from this talking about what their character arcs will be like in Season 2, which pretty much line up with the books, but I just wanted to go over it quickly. That when you think about it, Rhaenyra ended Season 1 at this total low point, that her throne has been usurped, her father is dead, she just had a horrific stillbirth, and her son Luke was killed. Meanwhile, Alicent is the Queen Mother standing next to her son being crowned. She is relatively powerful in the grand scheme of things. She pretty much managed to outmaneuver Otto in terms of her power through her son. Or at least that she has a seat at the table, that she is relatively strong. And they flat out say that the story of this season is that they change places by the end. That this is the season of Rhaenyra rising from that grief, and Alicent getting paranoid and slipping out of power until by the end she's desperate. That you will see those arcs as they progress, and that matches what pretty much happens in the books, and they stress in the interview. Writer Sarah Hess, who covers a lot of the writing for Rhaenyra and Alicent, it is hard to adapt this because at this point in Fire and Blood, Rhaenyra and Alicent drop out of the narrative for a bit, as it focuses on the front lines of the war and the politicking. And I thought, well, you can tie that in by having them looking at war maps in small council meetings. It's relatively easy to do. We've seen from the trailers, I think they're tying it in reasonably well, giving them stuff to do that is tying in with, well, we talked about that through vivid narration, or it was the historian was saying something that we can work in, well, as a political decision, what are they doing? I think you can work that out. And a lot of the tension will be that, they show this in the trailer, both the blacks and the greens have internal dissension over, do we rush to war to seize the advantage, or do we wait to husband our resources? Like on the green side, Otto and Alicent aren't, we're going to rush out and kill everyone. Even Otto is saying, wait, shepherd our allies, gather more great houses, we need to play this cautiously, we have the numbers advantage if we can bring it to bear. On the black side, Daemon's a maniac, so he's rushing out doing stuff. In the book, he was actually more cunning about this, but he still is. But other ones are, even when Rhaenyra's like, we'll go to war, there's a question of, do we wait for our allies to gather their armies, or do we strike while the iron is hot? Well, the iron has not yet begun to become hot, so back and forth. That in the book, like, Rhaenyra medically is not doing well after a bad stillbirth. She's mentally in a deep depression. She's practically bedridden from the stillbirth. So it takes her a while to be strong enough to even ride her dragon again, but then she does. So we'll have small council scenes. She'll be doing things with the dragon seeds when they assemble that. I can see them having her have a significant amount of stuff to do. But she's still at a pretty low point, and I'm not going to give spoilers of there's a point when something else bad happens, and it says, and this steeled her resolve to rise to the occasion. Whereas Alicent, you can see just from the trailers alone how she's spiraling out of control, that even Otto can't control Aegon anymore, that he thought, oh, I'm the puppet master here, I'm Tywin. It's Aegon, Criston Cole, and Aemond. Even Aemond stop listening to Otto and Alicent at a certain point. And that Alicent didn't even want, even in the books, Alicent wanted a coup. She didn't want a war because it'll spiral. So you see her ultimately just literally getting caught up in food riots. There is chaos in the capital because of the blockade, of the back and forth of this. So just, I'm not sure the specifics of what they're implying with these quotes, but let me just read it off. Emma Darcy, they say, in Season 1, a lot of Rhaenyra's power came from her ability to manipulate her male peers. Here, she begins to distance herself from the men of her council, and to some extent, she kind of goes AWOL. When she's just too out of it from grief to do anything. But when she returns to court, she's looking to new power structures to consolidate female power to different methodologies as opposed to trying to fit into a male praxis. I don't know what that means. Maybe they're talking about the alliance with Rhaenyra's cousin Jane Arryn. I'm not sure. That could just be over-explaining it, but I'm not sure what that means. Of, well, just a new power dynamic. That could mean a couple of things. But Liv Cook, over on the Alicent side of things, says it's a case of who can she trust? There's no one around her. Everyone, it seems, has been spying on her. It's this, because we know that Otto told Larys, tell me, spy on her for me, and okay, I'll be your spy master. It's this sense of peak paranoia within her own home. But remember that they actually revealed, like, your trusted handmaiden Talia was a spy for Mysaria. It's not just Larry's spies, it's Mysaria's spies. Quite a few of the royal court were spies for this behind-the-scenes third-party network. So she's properly paranoid, as they say. That had to really permeate throughout my performance. This informs a lot of it. Okay, with Blood and Cheese, the revelation even to them that, well, there's secret tunnels throughout the castle, that people are literally watching you from the walls and we don't know where all the tunnels are. That is the paranoia of seeing what happens in Blood and Cheese, and just there are spies everywhere, there are literally assassins everywhere, demonstrably. So she is going to be really freaked out and paranoid after that, which is in like the second episode, start of the second episode. And on top of that, though, all of a sudden she's of no use to anyone. She's done what she was supposed to do, and now she's, disposable. That you're the mother, you pop out sons, you put a son on the throne, and now you're discarded. Who is she if she can't be the person to implement wisdom? And just that when Aegon stops listening to Otto, or really even to Alicent, that she thought, like when Cersei thought, I can rule through Joffrey, went, no, that Aegon isn't Joffrey, but it's I am my own person. And the tension of that, and that you don't have a formal position anymore, and just the loss of you're not the queen's wife, manipulating his son, what are you? But that loss, however, becomes freeing. Oh, I could do whatever the F I want and no one cares. All of a sudden I'm not important. I'm not a player. In a very giddy way, that's really novel and exciting for someone who's been manipulated her whole life as you were a game piece. When you're not, it's almost freeing. I think this ties into those weird scenes we've seen in the trailers of Alicent, like, at a lake, and my suspicion is she dunks herself into the tub and has a vision while in the tub, half drowning before she instinctively rises up, of running through a field or something. That might actually be real, I don't know. But of just, there'll be a point after she loses all, when she's completely out of the game, that it's almost freeing. So, but they state right there, Hess says, this is the story of their changing places, that it starts with Rhaenyra weak, ends with Rhaenyra, as you see in the trailer. She's exasperated from Luke's death and frazzled to, here I am assembling the dragon seeds, talking about moving my armies, wearing my father's crown, and she looks really with it and together and collected again, and this powerful politician. Versus, again, from the trailers, you see Alicent is losing control, she's getting caught up in literal street riots, and it's just fraying all over the place. So this isn't a surprise or anything. This is pretty much, that's what happens in the books. Just that they are thinking it out as a clear arc, and how they're playing it. That just think of the performance that Alicent will have after Blood and Cheese. You aren't normal after that. Not just that the way that it happens of, assassins, there's spies everywhere, and there are tunnels throughout the castle you live in. How do you... that you're not safe anywhere. How does that affect a person? And a normal person, because she is an emotionally normal person, she's not Cersei. How does that affect someone? And the performance that Emma Darcy is going to give with everything that happens with Rhaenyra, with the aftermath of Luke, fighting with Corlys after Rook's Rest, and then the revelations of the Dragon Seeds. We have a lot to look forward to this season from them, even though technically in the book they weren't on the page. I don't think they're inventing much, just logically this is an extension of this is a small council scene that could have happened, that logically this is what the Greens would be talking about at that point. It's not specific dialogue that was in the book as the book is an outline, but I think it's just a logical extension of that. Much as season one, a lot of these weren't like the royal hunting trip wasn't like line for line, that wasn't in the book, but it's something they would have said. You have to read between the lines when you're dealing with just this broad strokes history book like that.